Movie starts off with some profane Donnie Wahlberg ADR. This doesn't feel like this one's for the children, and definitely isn't the right stuff, baby. I sure am glad Saw 3 put Donnie Wahlberg in a situation where he can't see shit, and we can't see shit, while the movie quietly tells us to go f*** ourselves in the first 5 minutes. So we've started off with over 3 minutes of an uninteresting continuation from the last scene in Saw 2. And essentially Eric is going to do the exact same damn thing Dr. Gordon did in the first f***ing movie. I would almost prefer the previously on Friday the 13th bullshit over this. I'm not sure how that dirty sock is going to help with the pain. And furthermore, if you don't die from blood loss, you might die from whatever dirty bathroom floor disease you just ingested. Between this and The Sixth Sense, I think Donnie has met his quota on horror movie bathroom sequences. You haven't witnessed true cinema until you see one of the new kids on the block smash his own foot with a toilet tank cover. Is this guy certain that the situation no longer requires his gas mask, or is this that movie shit when some asshole pulls off their mask so that we can hear what they have to say? How do these TVs know when to come on? I get someone is watching from somewhere, but this is the TV your grandmother watched Howdy Doody on back in the day when it would work. No one is setting this piece of junk off remotely. Jigsaw has enough wherewithal and money to put together all these crazy traps, but you can't fork over for a computer or a TV that you could access remotely? You know you're in a Saw movie when disturbing images flash at you as if Jigsaw put epilepsy itself into one of his traps. I mean, this movie's editor got carpal tunnel syndrome while cutting this, right? He must have quit his job after holy he's edited 5 of these and directed 2 chapters of the series? Holy I remember back in 1988 when Friday the 13th Part 7 was going to get an X rating if they didn't cut the scene down with the sleeping bag hitting the tree from 3 hits to 1. I wonder what got you an X rating in 2006. Live on-screen taint piercing? Even the movie wants to fast forward itself. Will someone give the movie a break, please? Does anyone in this franchise live in a place that doesn't look like a crime scene right out of an 80s TV procedural? The mirror scare cliche is so weird in a Saw film. This is a movie that relies on gruesome death traps, not ghosts. Also, seriously, what is it with Donnie Dubs and bathrooms? So Amanda not only knows Carrie will be watching the crime scene video at this moment, but she can also somehow intercut a live feed of Carrie watching the video? Amanda sure has come a long way. She went from drug user to president of the AV club at Torture Porn University in just a matter of months. Also, how the f*** is a camera broadcasting to the TV without wires? And how did the killer switch the TV to this camera shot when they're nowhere near the TV or the camera? A remote isn't doing this shit either. The killer does the usual horror movie bullshit, where they waited for no reason to set up this elaborate kidnapping, hoping to set up this camera in the closet scare. Do we really need 7 cuts for this one setup?
And by the time this tape is finished, you will have 1 minute to find a way out.
So we find out that Amanda is one of the killers behind these new Jigsaw murders, and that she followed Jigsaw's work, except for giving the victims no chance to survive the situation. My question is, how did she imitate the Jigsaw voice on these tapes? Or did Jigsaw go ahead and do the voice for the tapes, even though he didn't condone the traps she was setting up? Mind you, with only a minute to live, Carrie might as well just give up. But if she's trying to get out of this, why is she wasting time trying to pull the trap apart, rather than sticking her hand in the acid to get the key? She almost got an extra minute there. Maybe Jigsaw meant a Cuban minute. Saw 2 already showed us that Amanda is a Jigsaw follower, and in this scene they show us the torso of a person who is definitely Amanda. So why are they playing the old-timey mystery movie game where the victim says, "You!" before the killer kills them? We know who the f*** it is. It's no mystery. Saw 3 inserts what looks like an erectile dysfunction ad into the middle of the movie.
Not gonna take a shower?
Nah.
Meanwhile, on Grey's Anatomy.
What is it you want from me, Chris?
A divorce.
We find out later that this is actually Nina's lover, not husband. So who the f*** asks their married lover to divorce their spouse like this? Also, it's kind of amazing that Jigsaw seems to find people who are connected in such a way that they're all going through various forms of obsession and sin. Dr. Gordon, who diagnosed John with cancer, was cheating on his wife. Dr. Lynn, who also diagnosed John with cancer, is cheating on her husband. Detective Matthews, who was investigating the Saw case, also cheated on his spouse, and was a dirty cop who planted evidence. And let's not forget how John even figured this information out. I didn't know a guy setting up torture traps for life's f***ups could get so lucky. You mean to tell me if this locker room door is locked, you can't get out? It locks only on the outside? Jesus, never live in a movie, people. Also, Amanda sets up a kidnapping at a hospital, where the chances of being seen or caught are probably 20 times more likely than when Jigsaw does the typical home invasion kidnapping. I suppose Amanda knew that Lynn would be here all alone at this very moment as well. Also, Amanda now has to drag Dr. Lynn through the hospital without being seen. I guess she has a gurney in that locker room, where she can pretend Dr. Lynn is a patient getting wheeled to the ER. By this point, these kidnappings have become so predictable they've lost any kind of suspense element, if they ever had any to begin with. Also, we knew from the moment we saw Lynn that she was going to be part of Jigsaw's plot. So why not just have her kidnapped after she has her meaningless conversation with Chris? Do we really need to see her save that kid's life, pop some pills, and be mopey? I'm sure someone will narrate this bull to us later. Oh wow, it's Amanda? Color me not surprised. Who the f*** else would it have been? Also, Dr. Lynn has no clue who Amanda is, so this would have been a much better reveal in the Detective Carrie death scene. But still, reveal is not really revealing, since it was already revealed in Saw 2.
Who are you? I've seen you on television. Lawrence Gordon was your doctor.
Just seconds after Dr. Lynn asks who John is, she tells us she already knew who he was.
There's no preventative treatment for what you have.
I remember you saying that to me once before.
This reminds me, the Jigsaw murders are a huge story now. At this point, detectives should have already figured out that this guy likes to play games where the people are connected in some way. If you look at the insane amount of connections during this series, everybody who's ever talked to John Kramer should be on high alert. But people are getting kidnapped in hospitals. The level of alertness is so low.
Turns their back on their husband, neglects their child, who has every possible advantage in life, but chooses not to advance.
Jigsaw is clearly well enough to prepare these fucking speeches. You know he's not coming up with this shit off the cuff. It's as if he's got a speechwriter in his employ.
Amanda, it's time to start our game.
It takes 30 minutes for this movie to Saw 3. Also, this is where the attempt at Saw mythology really started putting a strain on the viewer. From here on out, you would need a Cliff's Notes from previous entries each time you watched a new one, and they're forced to set up all this bullshit at the beginning that sets up other bullshit for other movies. Is there a reason this crate can't just be on the ground? Then you don't have to rent the forklift. There really seems to be a lot of wasted expense at Jigsaw Corp.
Consumed with hatred, vengeance. Vengeance against the drunk driver who killed your only son.
I know Jigsaw has Amanda and Detective Hoffman helping him out right now, but how the does he know all the stories of everybody he puts through these things? You know what kind of work hours these people would have to endure to understand everything about their victims? You wouldn't even have time to pee. Jigsaw puts Jeff in the extremely clever trap of a wooden box that he needs to kick until he's set free. Classic Jigsaw. I guess that tape also gave Jeff superpowers, so he can now kick open the crate. The higher-ups at Jigsaw Corp didn't think this through very well. I mean, there's no guarantee that Jeff can kick the crate open, and he could easily have been knocked unconscious from that fall for more than the 2-hour time limit he was given, or even been impaled by a stray piece of wood and died on the spot.
I'm your teacher, you motherfucker.
Jeff practices his Clint Eastwood lines in private for when he actually meets up with his kid's killer. I would have gone with, "I'm the Rainmaker," or something a little more fun, but that's just me. I mean, nobody locks a f***ing house up anymore. Jigsaw and his followers really have an easy time of it kidnapping these people.
For a tumor like this, you need steroids, prednisone. Why don't you f***ing tell me something that I don't know, you stupid c***?
Amanda clearly has ninja-like qualities and the ability to break into any facility, so why not steal the drugs he needs? I bet when you bought your ticket for Saw 3, you didn't expect an episode of House to break out, did you? How about you actually try to insert the key into the lock before giving up?
You fantasize those accountable will pay.
Is Jigsaw Freddy Krueger now?
This will prevent her from running, much like she did on the day your son was hit.
If she kept driving after seeing Jeff's son get hit by a car, then how did anyone know who she was? Jeff doesn't seem to know who she is, so she obviously wasn't set to be a witness at the trial. So how the f*** did Jigsaw know who she was?
You alone can grant her the gift of life before she freezes to death.
When was she put in here? And how did they know Jeff would wake up and get out of the crate and get to her before she froze to death? Also, how is that tape recorder even still working in these conditions?
I'm so sorry. I'm human. I'm human just like your son was.
I'm no hanging from the ceiling and freezing to death expert, but it seems weird that she explains how she's just a human who makes mistakes, and then compares that to his 8-year-old son while she's begging for her life. I guess when Jigsaw and Amanda scouted this guy, they took measurements of how far he could reach. Also, if Jigsaw's main goal is to have people tap into their survival instinct, why does he make it where it's so easy to f*** up these games? I mean, Jeff here could have easily dropped the key when he finally grabs hold of it, and by no fault of his own, would have failed the test and died. Movie proves my thesis. You simply can't unlock ice. Do we really have to go through this rigmarole again? We saw enough of this in the first movie to get the gist of it, and we found out in the second movie that she's now working for Jigsaw. So this just seems like wasted time in a movie that's already at least 20 minutes too long.
There is only one key to open the device. It's in the stomach of your dead cellmate.
Wait a minute. So Amanda was put to the test, but all she had to do was cut open the stomach of someone who was already dead to get the key? While I admit this is still not easy, she didn't have to do anything that put her through any real pain to escape.
Amanda, do not be afraid.
I mean, was the trial easy just so that he could recruit her? Seems like Jigsaw would have given her a real trial if she was supposed to be his protege. Also, I don't really understand why she decided to be pro-Jigsaw after this. The trial was bogus, and what made Jigsaw so sure she'd want to be a part of this? Also, considering the reason Jigsaw is putting Amanda to the test, it seems like having a scene where he tells Amanda specifically to make these traps escapable and why would be important, plus giving us the reasons for Amanda's failures. But the movie seems more interested in the nostalgia of the original Saw than showing us where Amanda went wrong. Jeff appears to have washed up a bit and put some gel in his hair since the last time we saw him. Jigsaw's just being a dick at this point. It is clear that all the cops needed to do to catch Jigsaw was tell every Radio Shack in the area to flag anyone buying 25 mini cassette recorders to immediately contact the cops.
You don't remember me.
Look, I'm going to spout something that's very argumentative here, which I'm sure many of you are used to by now. But after the first death, it's kind of hard to believe Jeff gives a shit about his revenge right now.
People get more for parking tickets.
People get more than 6 months in jail for unpaid parking tickets? Is Saw set in the Orwellian universe? Another trial that's kind of bullshit, really. All Jeff had to do was incinerate his son's toys to get a key, then wade through some pig guts to save the judge. He didn't really pay any price there. Sure, it must have been tough saying goodbye to all those mementos, but there's not really a choice here. Nearly 4 minutes of sickening brain surgery.
John, how you doing?
Never better.
I would be doing better if this scene would ever f***ing end. In fact, let's just add 20 sins for this
All right, John. I'm gonna remove the skull.
Didn't we already go through this an hour ago? Which seems like how long ago this scene started. Oh no, the brain surgery tapped into his cerebral flashback. So Amanda kidnapped Adam in the first movie? Does it matter? Do we care? Also, is Jeff just standing around this whole time? He only has 2 hours. Doesn't seem fair if they're making him wait while Amanda deals with her personal hang-ups.
Put his left leg in the shackle.
Why do I get the feeling this whole scene is only here to shut people up about how Jigsaw couldn't have done this by himself, and to tie up all the questions people had about that first movie? Also, I get the sense that the movie has all these scenes with brain surgery and going back to the first movie because it realizes what a bare-bones premise Saw 3 actually is. Without all that, this movie must be 30 minutes on paper, but with all the other stuff, they managed to make it nearly 2 hours. Also, while this is great and all, do we really need to see all the minutiae surrounding the first movie's setup? Cool, she dragged the bodies around. He drew an X on the wall. Awesome. And showing the actual setup of this scene from the first film takes away all the mystery, and makes it seem even more preposterous. Good thing the drugs they gave him kept him knocked out for the right amount of time. What would have happened exactly if Dr. Gordon had woken up at this moment? Would they have Obi-Wan'd him? These are not the Jigsaw and Amanda you're looking for. Also, not to belabor the point, but what the f*** is Jeff doing right now? Can we at least get a shot of him sitting in a chair, reading an old issue of People or something? Both Jeff and the judge seem awfully clean for just being covered in pig guts. Maybe they were taking showers for the last 20 minutes, because, I mean, it's not like there's any real time crunch or anything.
That day he made a terrible mistake.
So Timothy was a drunk driver, but this wasn't a hit and run. So why did the judge need a witness in this case to give him more time in prison? Why, yes, Your Honor, the defendant looked drunk, but the breathalyzer results probably told you that.
The question you have to ask yourself is this. Are you willing
Have mercy.
to take a bullet for the man who killed your son?
I'm having trouble figuring out John's motives here. For the first 2 victims, Jeff merely needed to grab a key and make a decision to save a person's life. But now, for the actual drunk driver who killed his son, he has to take a bullet? That's a dick move, even for John. Also, there appears to be absolutely no consequence to letting any of these people die. There is a route through this game where Jeff lets everyone die, gets his wife back, doesn't kill Jigsaw, and learns where his daughter is to save her, however unlikely. In fact, I kept thinking that Jeff was going to be led into a room where he needed a surviving victim to advance. Sure, the way this is set up leads to a pretty nifty whammy at the end, but I think Jeff's trial is way more emotionally complicated than anything Jigsaw has ever come up with to teach a lesson. He let actual criminals off the hook easier than he does Jeff.
You've got to help him, Jeff!
Because, I mean, I'm not gonna f***ing take a bullet for this guy, but you totally should. It'll be good for your healing process and shit. Jeff has no concept of time, or just doesn't give a shit. But not only is he letting this guy get closer to death while he figures out what he wants to do, he also only has 2 hours to get out of this hellhole.
Jeff! Just standing there, you're an accomplice to murder!
Actually, I don't think that's true. You can't force anyone to take a bullet to save someone. You might be a cowardly dick, but you're probably not going to jail, especially when you factor in the kidnapping and stressful situations he was put into. Just take your time, Jeff. There aren't any leg bones snapping behind you or anything.
Got the key.
Oh, come on. What are the odds? One flaw in Jigsaw's plan, if he wanted any of these people to live, was that he picked a person who has zero clue how to use a key properly.
Amanda, even with that gun, it is Lynn who holds your life in her hand.
Amanda's test is whether or not she can save a life, because her Jigsaw-inspired traps were inescapable. But it's pretty laughable that he knew Amanda would grow jealous of Dr. Lynn and would go as far as shooting her over it. If Amanda sets inescapable traps, why was it so easy for Eric to escape this? Amanda somehow thought a cop had no way of getting out of his shackles, and left this door completely unlocked. Even with that makeshift cane, there is no way in hell Eric is walking around on that foot we saw him break at the beginning of the movie. Jesus, for a guy who just smashed his own right foot with a toilet tank lid, he sure does get some good leverage during this fight. I guess I don't need this fight scene super lit or anything, but goddamn, try to follow the action on this thing. It's impossible.
You're not Jigsaw, bitch!
Somehow, even though Eric knows very little about Amanda's association with Jigsaw, he knows exactly what to say to trigger her.
You're not Jigsaw, bitch.
This scene is still f***ing going on.
You left him for dead, didn't you? But I cleaned up your mistakes, and I forgave you for them.
How the f*** did John clean up Amanda's mistakes? The FBI people noticed immediately that the deaths at the beginning weren't John's work.
Nobody changes. It's all a lie.
Given the roughly, 98% death rate of all the Jigsaw traps through these 3 movies, and the other 2% become Jigsaw disciples, what the f*** is Amanda basing this belief on? Jeff has finally discovered the mystery of keys. Jigsaw's master plan benefits from insanely good timing, as Amanda shoots Lynn just before Jeff can stop it. Not only that, she shoots Lynn in such a way that she's incapable of telling Jeff not to kill John.
You didn't know that Lynn and Jeff were husband and wife.
How the f did he keep that from her? And Jeff and Lynn Denlin have the same last names. You mean to tell me that he said, go to this address and kidnap Jeff, but don't look at any family photos around the house and don't do any research? Surely with the kind of job she has, where she has to kidnap people and be at certain places at certain times, she would have discovered their marriage somehow just through the surveillance that is required of such tasks. Oh good, now you've killed off the main villain of your franchise and still have several movies left to go. I'm sure that'll pay off. Saw 3, Rocky 4.
The cold never bothered me anyway.
Do you know why you're afraid when you're alone? I do. I do.
Well, I don't know why I came here tonight. I got the feeling something ain't right.
At last, you know what it means to hate. Now you're ready to be a king.
My hate will die with you.
All he had to do was release himself from each of the chains.
You! That's my name!
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
She's got the crazy eyes.
Dude, the eyes.
In here.
Sweep the leg.